Hello, my name is Matheus Colombo. I am 20 years old. I study at Luiz Tramontina High School, and I'm from Carlos Barbosa, Rio Grande do Sul, Brazil. So my project is the study of aggregation of natural extracts to biomulching to its use in agriculture as a way of prevention and pest control. Here in Brazil, the main way of production is in large amounts of land and the utilization of several techniques. In one of them, the use of pesticides that are normally chemical compounds made in laboratory to protect the crop and by killing some prags and then increase the production and the quality of the food. Here in Brazil, we are the biggest consumer of pesticides in the world, and on average, each Brazilians consume 7 liters of poison per year. But there is one thing that we can deny about pesticides: they affect life in a good way, because it will kill and protect the crop by the organisms that damage the plantation. But also, it will not be so good because it will also kill the beneficial organisms like bees and natural predators and some bacteria that presented that are and exist in the microbiota in the soil that which helps the plant grow. So pesticides affects life at all levels. Since the prags that we not so good that we contribute to replicate, but also those organisms that want to keep them live, and other plants it also affects. So to the human health, it can cause some hazards like intoxication, various hormonal disorders, neurological diseases, fetal malformation, cancers of various types, and others, because sometimes it is applied in excessively or in an excessively and uncontrolled way. So it can cause these hazards, and also to the environment, it can cause the soil and air and water pollution, uh, impacting the biodiversity loss and affect the ecosystems. So our goal here is developing a new method alternative to pesticides which is used in the prevention of pests in agriculture, specifically weeds and aphids presented in cabbage plantation. Because cabbage it's a plant that grows fast. In about 2 or 3 months, it reaches the adult phase, and also it's highly infested by aphids. These small insects that harm the plant by taking the sap and then deforming the leaves and decreasing the production and the quality of the leaves. And also, our goal is to prevent the weeds because they take the essential nutrients that are necessary to the plant growth. So our goal here is to utilize, based on the technique of mulching that consists in the use of normally black plastic mulching to cover the soil and then prevent the weeds growth, and also it assists in the soil moisture with the technique of biopesticides, which are pesticides made of plants which present a capacity to combat and the insects and even kill some of that, being safer and healthier than the pesticides. But as they show a disadvantage that we need to use more quantity, more amounts, and more times. We thought and create a product with both of them, uniting them to create a biodegradable mulching, that's biodegradable mulching, with the repelling action of biopesticides. And then when these biomulching degrades, it will release these biopesticides in a controlled form to prevent the appearance of insects like aphids. So our problem is it possible to create a biodegradable mulching with aggregation of natural extracts such as rosemary, garlic, sage, and pepper, which have efficiency enough to combat aphids and then decrease the use of pesticides? Is that what we're trying to answer? And we chose these 4 plants, rosemary, garlic, sage, and pepper, because they are plants easily found here in the region where I live, being easy to the producer to utilize in the plantation. So at the method fertilizer, we are going to summarize the main of them, because as we utilize a lot of methodologies. We started by bibliographical research, then the extraction of the census, following by the production of the prototype, testing in cabbage plantation, till we got some results about the biomulching. So for the pepper sense extraction, that was the best one. Utilized this process of the distillation starting by washing, dry and grinding the pepper, then analyzing it in alcohol and letting it rest for 48 hours. Then we distillated it to obtain the liquid inside the distillation flask that is we call the pepper essence. For the prototype production, we tested different compounds with different concentrations. Uh, Several prototypes have done, and the main one with the best results is made of orange peel, water, glycerin, alcohol, colophony, alciol, pepper, essence, vegetable ash, and vinegar. So why this would be the best? Because first, Brazil is one of the biggest producers of orange peel, and also orange is a plant, it's a fruit that has 50% of peel. So here we have a lot of this waste, and also because orange peel presents pectin, a substance that would help in the formation of the basis for the biomulching by creating a kind of bioplastic, and also it presents limonene, a substance that can repel some insects. We use the colophony, that is the resin of a tree, pinus, to waterproof the prototype and also to help the properties when exposed to sunlight, that it usually get dry and rusty. So as it has the capacity to melt, it would help in this way. And we choose the pepper because it presents capsaicin, a substance that is responsible to the pungent action. And also it presents carotene, a substance that can repel some insects, mosquitoes, like Aedes aegypti. Been and so we try to see if it also can be effective to combat aphids. So the process, we wash and sanitize the orange peels, then we cook it in brushing pan, grind it utilizing a blender to form a pasta, and then with this pasta we heat it and add some plasticizers, and at the same time we melt the colophony with vinegar and vegetable ashes and alcohol, and then we mix the both together to form the biomulching, and we put it in a form to let it dry at environment temperature for about 5 hours. So we also made analysis of the sense in vitro, utilizes these containers, and it was to verify the potential to combat aphids from each essence extract in a first experiment. And in the second, it was analyzed the efficiency of pepper essence and the biomulching and a commercial plan based on carotene when applied to population of aphids. We also made a cabbage plantation test. It has made 3 times, and the third one, here we have the picture. This was the how it was built, the setup, the experiment with 5 beds, utilizing 5 plants each one. And here we have the analyzed variables: temperature, soil moisture, precipitation, number of aphids and other insects, number of weeds, growth and yield of plants, and biomulching and gravity. Here we have a little movie when you can see how the biomulching was disposed in the soil in small parts. That was how we were able to produce. And this one is the homemade trap for winged aphids, to where we counted them, and also to count the other insects. It was made 2 times per week, the counting. About the results, for the farm plants extract study, garlic, sage, rosemary, pepper, it was the sense of pepper that presented the best results. And about the test to verify the pepper sense efficiency, this last obtained similar result to a plant-based carotene. As we can see in the graphic, about 2 hours, they killed all the insects. That's the same result about the carotene extract. We don't see much difference about the biomulching because it takes more time than 116 hours to degrade and release the substances than to kill the aphids. So it doesn't work in this experiment. The efficiency 100% and the biomulching 33%. About the cabbage plantation test, the general result of the test lasted 84 days from December 2018 to March 2019. The average temperature during the experiment period was 25 degrees, and the relative humidity of air, it was average 77%. The soil moisture average of the biomulching was 19.5%, and it presents a constant soil moisture average percentage, while the has the another beds utilizing some mulching to cover the soil, but it is present difference because there was some days too dry and other days too wet, and we don't have a irrigation system. Then it was a problem to the experiment, but we don't see much difference. But also we can say that the beds which utilized some covering, they had more consistent average. About the efficiency percentage preventing weeds growth, biomulching decreased the number in 61%, and the durability about 3 months of the biomulching. As you can see here, the percentage degradation per week. About the combat aphids, the biomulching decreased the number of aphids in 24%. The same percentage has the black mulching, so we don't see much difference because of the use of the aggregation of the natural extracts. But we see a significant difference to the yellow mulching, which decreased the number of aphids in 64%. We believe that is because the color of the mulching, that it was yellow, and because that it helps reflecting the sunlight under the leaves and maybe reflecting in repelling the aphids, or then because the location of the bed that was close to a wall, and maybe it can influence it in the number of aphids. But yet we don't know for sure what caused that, and then we need to conduct a new experiment taking out these variables, and also in a bigger scale to see how biomulching works if it presents better results. The production costs to extract 10 milliliters of pepper essence, it costs 75 reais, and to produce the biomulching per 1 meter squares, 29 reais. Comparing it to a package with the conventional plastic mulching plus insecticide and organic fertilizers, the price is 24 reais. And we believe that when we increase the production of the biomulching, the costs of production costs decrease significantly, and to the comparing it to the biodegradable mulching that already exists in the market, plus insecticide, that because this biodegradable mulching does not present any substance that can repel some the insects and help in this way, it costs about 10 reais, and it's a lower price, but yet it is an important product. We don't have it here in Brazil, so it doesn't have much advantages utilizing this one here in Brazil. The conclusion we reached is that we have a prototype with good physical properties. It's very malleable. It's easy to use. It supports in the soil, utilizes agricultural waste, a jar to peel. It's biodegradable. It also presents similar advantages as plastic mulching. It prevents the weeds growth and also assists in the soil moisture. It lasts about 3 months. We believe it assists the soil fertilization for the next plantation culture, but yet we don't have data about it. And also it contributes to respectful and healthy agriculture, being good to the producers, because they won't need to use chemical compounds that are toxic and sometimes really hard to manipulate, and also being easier. It also will be good to the nature because it won't pollute and generate impacts as pesticides, and also being good to the consumer because it produces foods healthier and without toxic compounds. So we also contribute to the sustainable development goals. Number 2, zero hunger, 12, responsible consumption and production, and 15, life on land. These are the references utilized in this presentation. I am Matheus Colombo. My teachers are Sandra Celeri and Marina Pen Gonçalves. Any question, suggestion, or comment, please get in touch. And that is it. Thank you very much for your time.